Hi everybody, and thank you for joining my session, Enterprise Application Delivery in 2018. My name is Rory Monaghan. I've been a proud Microsoft MVP for about 6 years. This is my first MVP Days as a presenter. Check out my site rorymon.com. Also, I host a podcast called 5 Bytes Podcast, which is a short form show covering IT news each week. You can find that at 5bytespodcast.com. Today I want to give my thoughts on enterprise application delivery in 2018 and the strengths of some of the different products on offer. When considering application delivery, we first need to think about the end user experience and how the users will consume the applications. When I started working in IT, there was a saying, IT was a department of no. In large enterprises, desktops were locked down. Users were not administrators on their machines and could do very little outside of what they needed to do just to get their job done. There was no desktop background changes, using their browser of choice, or any personalization of their own experience. Remote work was a luxury typically only afforded to a select few and delivered with a VPN. IT control was the name of the game. Clearly, this is changing. Products like Citrix Workspace, WorkSpot, VMware Workspace ONE, and Software2's Apps Anywhere provide what I feel is a glimpse of most of our IT futures in end-user computing. Prior to the workspace movement, virtual desktops and published applications got a pretty decent foothold in enterprise, but in reality both were costly and complex. Users also got somewhat of a disjointed experience. With workspaces, users can still consume virtual desktops and published applications, but hopefully, if executed right, the experience will no longer be disjointed but rather a unified, seamless experience. No more differences when working remote versus in the office. Workspace is also ready IT for the wave of software vendors moving toward web-based SaaS apps, and how best to present and deliver applications to users, no matter if they are on a PC, Mac, thin client, tablet, or smartphone. On this slide, you can see an example of Citrix Workspace. Presented as 2 desktops for full desktop experience, applications, which could be published applications launching off an RDSH, or web-based SaaS apps launching off the user's own device. Also, for those who are only familiar with Storefront, you could see files. There's integration of ShareFile for cloud storage and other cloud storage products. More than this, Citrix have some key mobile apps to provide a rich experience on smartphones and tablets too. There is also built-in security functionality for protecting your company's data. The workspace can also cut down on user logins by carrying through single sign-on from the portal through the apps. For a full demo of Citrix Workspace, I suggest you check out Citrix Synergy's keynote. VMware Workspace ONE tells a similar story in terms of application publishing. Users get a rich experience no matter what device they are on. For me, personally, I would give the nod to Citrix Workspace right now. VMware have been quicker to adapt in different SSO integrations. The product is more mature than Citrix Workspace. Between the two, for me at the moment, it would come down to the protocol and ease of management of published applications and desktops. Personally, I feel the current Citrix offering is stronger on that front, but VMware's Blast protocol keeps getting better and better. Also, if vendors keep moving towards web-based SaaS applications, the published application and desktop experience may become less relevant. I know some organizations are already moving to the workspace platforms, but I'd bet most won't for another year or two. I think the eventual winner will be the company that provides the widest range of integrations and competitive price. I can't say too much about WorkSpot because I haven't actually used it in a few years, but they were ahead of the other two in how they approached application delivery at the time. I'd bet it has only improved since then. They've also added key members to their team. The simplicity of WorkSpot was awesome. The price was also favorable. WorkSpot leverages Microsoft's RDP protocol, which I guess helps keep the cost down. My favorite workspace type of offering right now is Software2's Apps Anywhere. It doesn't have all of the features of some of the other vendors' products who have owned their own mobile management tools for several years, but what they do have is an incredible variety of integrations. They can integrate your existing Citrix XenApp or Zen desktop farms, VMware Horizon, Parallels RAS, AppV, Numesan Cloud Paging, and more. They have also been doing true contextual app delivery for many years. In my opinion, in terms of application delivery, Apps Anywhere is what the other vendors' products should aspire to. In this demo, we're going to show launching the same application on a variety of different devices and operating systems. So first I'm going to log in on the Windows 10 machine. You can see it does a quick validation, and that's going to detect what device I'm on, location, operating system, and the machine itself. I'm going to go ahead and launch an application, and we can see this application is delivered through cloud paging. So it's detected I'm on Windows 10 and that I have the cloud paging client installed. So this application is available to me because I've got the cloud paging client. In this example, cloud paging is going to stream the application directly down to my Windows 10 device. No need to use RDSH, which could be quite expensive. It's just going to launch off my Windows 10 device. In this next example, I'm going to log in on my Mac. And you can see there it's detected that it is indeed a Mac. And I'm going to launch the same application. I'm logged in as the same user, which is Tony. Thanks, Tony. And Notepad++ is still available to me. But when I launch it this time, because I'm on a Mac, it's going to deliver it using Parallels product. So this is a Win32 application launching on my Mac through Parallels. And there's a variety of different integrations that are possible, so it doesn't necessarily have to be Parallels that you're using if you've got an existing solution like, say, Citrix Virtual Apps in Desktop or Horizon Apps. You can also see Jamf as an integration option there too. Finally, we're going to go over to an iPad, log in again, and it's going to detect that I'm on an iPad. And you can select which applications should be available on an iPad, because obviously on that smaller touchscreen, not all applications are going to be suitable for that type of device. I mean, some vendors will tell you, oh yeah, you can run it on an iPad, no problem, but reality is it might not work that well. And this is a good example of an app that may not. But still, it's possible to present it through this way. And there, we've got the same application running across different operating systems and different devices. Not shown there, but you can also publish out SaaS-based applications just launching in the browser, or indeed a mobile application. So if the application's available within, say, the Apple Store publicly, to give an option to install that. Products like Jamf and Intune also give the option to deploy our applications to devices outside the organization, but not on a VPN. VPNs are pretty dated, and in my opinion were an admin's worst nightmare. Group policy processing, patching, and app deployments over VPN were always a challenge. I feel the end-user workspace is definitely in for a transformation, but how do we deliver the applications to suit the modern workspace? Traditional application packaging and scripting, while still widely used, is best left in the past in my opinion. Bad packaging practices could break other applications, and in extreme cases, the entire OS. MSI was fine in theory, but vendors did not deliver MSIs that follow best practices. Application virtualization was promised as an improvement, deploying software on demand dynamically without a need for traditional install and no install-related reboots, but as many discovered, mileage may vary. AppV was the most widely used application virtualization product on the market. Marketing told people they could virtualize 80% of their applications. In actuality, there is complexity involved with AppV. Sure, you may get 80% or even more, but it still requires effort and expertise. There's also known limitations such as complex component services, low-level system files, and drivers which are not compatible. AppV is also kind of in limbo at the moment. It went into the operating system with Windows 10 and Server 2016, but so far has really only had fixes and no real new features to report. The AppV 5.x most people use through MDOP is also out of support and has had 11 hotfixes with no service pack. Microsoft have pivoted. They seem to be focusing their efforts on MSIX, a format that boasts the best of AppX and MSI, but also, when you get into it, MSIX also contains some of the features from AppV. In fact, they suggest if you just started an AppV implementation, continue. They'll just make sure that you're able to convert your AppV applications to MSIX in future. I have several blog posts on MSIX, and I don't want to cover it too much here today because it's still in its infancy in my opinion. But I'll show a quick demo. Here you can see an example of the contents of an MSIX package. If you're familiar with AppV, this will look pretty familiar. Even some of the prefixes contain AppV. If I go to my Windows 10 machine here, I'll go ahead and I'll install some MSIX packages. So these are obviously Win32 applications like Notepad++, Digicert Utility, Chrome, but they're packaged as MSIX applications. So it's like a UWP application. I could go deploy this through Intune today and the Windows 10 store. Now it is still in its infancy, and you can see with this example, Foxer Reader, if I go in and try to use the application like I typically would, do up a Word document and then try to print it as a PDF, the Foxer Reader PDF printer is not available there. So it still has some of the same limitations as AppV. Now Microsoft have said that there's some extra abilities and features coming in the future to bring it more in line with some of the features that AppV already had, and also introduce extra capabilities. But it is a pretty solid start. I mean, packaging the applications is pretty easy. There is one little quirk that a packager may not be used to. You have to use code signing for the packages, but it's relatively simple. VMware ThinApp was second in terms of user base. Like AppV, the applications run isolated and don't require installation. While AppV applications could stream from a server to the client on demand, ThinApps were portable. You can put your ThinApp application executables on a network drive and launch from there, or even run them from a USB key. Like AppV, ThinApp really hasn't added new features and capabilities worth talking about in many years. VMware have a layering product called App Volumes that they seem to focus more on, and we'll talk about that a little later. So if AppV and ThinApp are two of the biggest players in this space, and both Microsoft and VMware don't seem to have plans for them, does that mean application virtualization is dead? In my opinion, I think it opens up opportunity for other vendors in this space, like Numecent, Cameo, Turbo.net, and CloudHouse. I only have 30 minutes, so I can't show all products, but I'm a huge fan of Numecent, and what they do is very different compared to a lot of the competitors. They are truly unique in this space. In this demo, we're going to show packaging Nuance Power PDF with Numecent Cloud Paging. We picked this application because as a PDF type product, it contains a driver, which is usually a challenge for application virtualization products that use isolation and have that as a limitation. So first we're going to browse to the application's executable in the packaging tool, and then the packaging tool is going to basically monitor the installation. It's doing an install capture. So if you've used something like Repackager by Admin Studio or any installation capture utility, you'll be familiar with this process. And really, if you can install the application, you can package it with this tool. It's that simple. Okay, once it's done, we'll end the process. A little diagnostic window showed up telling us if we need to do anything else. You can see we've got files, registry, fonts. In this particular application, since it has a print driver, it's saying we should likely restart the print spooler. So I'm just going to check that option. Going to take the application's main executable and set that, and then save it. And once the package is saved, we're going to take that and provision it to our user. And we'll go over to our Windows 10 client then to do the actual testing. Okay, here we are on Windows 10. I've got Word. You can see it's just Word. There's nothing in there. There's no add-ins in the top bar. Now I'm going to go and launch Nuance Power PDF from our portal here. Right away, the shortcut appears on the desktop. It's streamed it down. Now if I go to Word, we see Nuance Power PDF appears as an add-in. Also, if I go to a PDF file, and right click, the full context menu for the application is available. So I can convert to PDF from here, or I can open with Nuance Power PDF, which is what we'll do. At this point, we can open it, we can save it as PDF, use the full functionality of the app. Or I can convert it from within the add-on in Office 365 Word. And because it's streamed, it's also very quick and easy to remove the application. You don't have to worry about bad packaging practices, not fully uninstalling an application, or the uninstall breaking another application that had shared dependencies. So we're going to go ahead and remove that. And now if I go back into Word and launch in, you can see that the add-on has in fact gone. It's not in there anymore. And also if I go back to the PDF file and right click, the context menu is gone. No installations, no uninstalls. And now covering a very important topic currently in Enterprise, Windows 10 application compatibility. Here's a quick demo showing ArcGIS version 3, a really old version of this application, being launched and streamed through cloud paging on a Windows 10 machine. So just like in the previous example, it's streaming down onto the client. You can see the shortcut in our Windows 10 Start menu, going to launch the application. Okay, it's asking us for some information. Going to put that in. I'll grab a number from their vendor's website. All right, and the application launches and works beautifully. So due to the isolation, it's a really great product for handling those applications that you need to bring forward, but they will not work on Windows 10 locally installed. One product I mentioned earlier when talking about those having an opportunity is CloudHouse, who are doing really interesting things around client containers on Windows. Somewhat like Numescent, they provide substantial benefit to those who require an application compatibility solution. You'll have many vendors who claim to provide value in this space. In my opinion, along with Numescent, CloudHouse is one of the ones who are true to their word. If you work with Docker containers and you love the container methodology, you'll love Turbo.net. Many in the end-user computing space are not familiar with the likes of Docker, Windows containers, Nano, etc., but may know the very popular package automation platform Chocolatey. To me, Turbo.net provides the robustness and agility of an isolated container with the same type of automation for Windows applications as Chocolatey. And here's a quick demo of Turbo.net. So I'm going to go to Turbo.net, and in their Turbo Hub, they've got a bunch of applications that are already containerized, like IE, pretty much every major version, 6 through 11, pretty much every version of Firefox. I'll go ahead and I'll add Firefox to my dashboard, and then I'll run it. And by default, when I run Firefox, it's going to run embedded within the browser. I'm going to do a demo of another product called Cameo a little later that does some of this too. And as you can see, I mean, it's a fully functioning browser. I can browse out and use it however I wish. I'm going to close that session right now. And you can see if you search for pretty much whatever your heart desires, you'll likely find it. You could also browse apps by category. So I see Zoom It, which I want to use for showing off the command line here. I'm just going to go to my PowerShell window. I could also do it from command and just type in a little quick commandlet, and it's going to launch it for me. And now I've got Zoom It without installing it. So let's see what I did there. I'll do it with Google Chrome. And if you could see, all I'm doing is Turbo New Chrome. So I have the Turbo.net plugin or client installed on this machine. I just log into that, and then I can go into PowerShell or the command window and run these commands. And it's just going to download the bits or the contents of this application or this container, and then it's going to launch it for me. And now I've got Chrome running locally on my machine. And at this point, I can output this container into a portable executable, MSI, or a format that I can stream from a turbo server down to the client. As I just mentioned in that demo, there's also Cameo, which is a little bit different than turbo.net. Let's take a look. Before jumping in, you can see on Cameo's site that they're available in the Google Cloud Marketplace, so it could be a perfect solution for those machines running on Chrome OS that still need access to Win32 apps. Well, I'm going to log into my Cameo account. I'll go to apps, so I have an option to add an app, and it will go into an online automated packager. So you can upload things like MSIs or even point to an MSI on a vendor's website, and it will automatically package it for you if it's possible. But they also have this repository similar to turbo.net with publicly available applications. And you can see if I hover over, for some of the applications, for most of the applications, there's the option to download. So I'm going to go ahead and download 7-zip. And once I've done that, it's downloaded the portable executable, and I can launch and just use it from whatever Windows machine I want. And I've got full functionality within 7-zip, no install required, just as quick as that. So more than just that, they also have an option to run in the browser within the apps. So I'll go ahead and do that for 7-zip. It's going to kick up a session here, and it launches within the browser. They've got some integrations with some cloud storage products for storing like application data and runtime data. The UI is pretty nice here too. Very seamless, very little lag, and they support a hybrid scenario, so you can add your own servers in too if that's what you desire. I mentioned VMware App Volumes a little earlier when talking about VMware ThinApp. App Volumes is an application layering product. Layering is a very different beast. When you package applications as a layer, you capture the install, and the package outputted is a virtual disk with the contents of the application on it. The virtual disk is then mounted in the operating system your users are working on. Through an agent piece of software, upon mounting the drive with the application's files on it, it also publishes out the application shortcuts, file type associations, and basically the presentation of the app as a user would typically expect it for a Windows application. Layers are generally not isolated, so unlike AppV, ThinApp, and other products that run in isolation, layers don't tend to suffer from the same limitations when it comes to drivers, low-level system files, and COM+. Something I should have also mentioned when talking about Cameo, you do not require to virtualize the applications that you add into the run in the browser scenario. So most applications will work with Cameo running in the browser. But I digress. Unidesk was a great layering solution. It was one of the first. A solution that wasn't just application focused. Everything was a layer. You had an OS layer, application layers, and a user layer. All disks were then merged together in a soup to nuts of virtual desktop delivery, bringing all pieces together for what the user needs in their desktop experience. Citrix acquired Unidesk, and with version 4, the soup to nuts virtual desktop product was no more. It became more of an image management solution, in my opinion, providing an easy to use solution for creating an image and making it portable to take it from, say, your ESXi hypervisor to Hyper-V or Zen server, or even up to Azure. You could still layer applications and deliver either in the image, which has an incredibly high success rate, or elastically, which is on demand, real time to the user. The players in this space right now are VMware, Citrix, and Liquidware. Liquidware FlexApp is by far the most feature-rich of the layering products and is the obvious choice for those looking at layering products who don't want to look at VMware or Citrix. I would be remiss if I didn't mention FS Logics. It's really tough to categorize them because they're really off in their own space. They have a really unique product. They do offer some layering, but not really application layering. Their layering product is for profiles, and they have an Office 365 specific container that is the best solution, in my opinion, for roaming Office 365. They do something called application masking, which is pretty neat. Rather than virtualizing your apps and trying to force them to work that way or layering, you could just install them into your image, so the way that the vendor intends you to install the application so they'll work, and then use FSLogic's masking to present the applications only to those who should have them. FSLogics are truly the kings of keeping it simple. I didn't have enough time to demo FSLogics or even any of the layering products, but I do have demos for these on my site, rorymon.com, if you're interested in checking those out. We covered a lot in a very short amount of time, and really I couldn't do each of the products justice here. What's good for me may not suit your needs, but today I still use AppV for a lot of applications. I'm pretty good at sequencing in AppV. I've been doing it for over a decade, and AppV is something pretty much every organization I've worked for owns. I also like Numescent cloud paging, and with the limitations of AppV and an uncertain future, with the lack of new features and a Windows 10 project in the works, it is the best packaging tool for my needs. In fact, even without the Windows 10 project, it would be my first choice for simplicity and the fact I could package all of my applications with Numescent cloud paging, not just 70 to 80%. I also use Turbo.net specifically for certain browser apps and virtual IE needs. I run into some web apps that work better with a lockdown isolated container when run on shared machines like RDSH. Regardless, when architecting a workspace platform, which I said looks like it should be our futures, with VMware Workspace 1 and Citrix Workspace, my AppV, Turbo.net, and Cloud Paging applications are still published applications, just like in XenApp and Horizon apps. If you use Software 2's apps anywhere, you don't even need the expensive, complex RDSH environment. You can just stream them direct to the user's endpoints. Like I said, I hope others in this space emulate what Apps Anywhere do with that type of integration in the portal. For those organizations using Chrome OS, Cameo is an obvious product to look at. If you have challenges with Office 365, you really need to look at FSLogics. If you're 100% virtual and like layering, you'll want to look at those products. But if there's any takeaways, I say specifically, take a look at cloud paging, because if you've tried virtualization in the past and abandoned it because it was too difficult, cloud paging removes all those difficulties and barriers. And I will leave you with this. If you go to whatmatrix.com, we have a great application virtualization whatmatrix. It does a side-by-side comparison of the different application virtualization products by feature. So you'll see 3 initially, but if you go to the drop-down, there's many different products in there. You'll see some pros and cons, user reviews, and also a total score based off of total number of features. So not necessarily the best product for you, but number of features. And then you can see a list of those features and do a side-by-side comparison of, yes, cloud paging has this, whereas AppV does not, and so forth. Not just that, we also have a great application layering specific matrix. Same deal, but it's with layering products instead of application virtualization. You can also create your own report. In addition to that, I did a presentation at the EUC Masters Retreat where I did a bake-off using a sample of 20 applications and created them as layers in all the different layering products. And you can see my results by checking out this post. And also, for many years I've worked on an AppV decision matrix. This year I expanded on that, and I've included the different application virtualization and layering products as options. So if something doesn't work in AppV and you use AppV today, I'll show you what you could use instead. And it's by limitation. So you'll see drivers, COM+, DCOM, and other features in there. And finally, check out my site, rorymon.com. I also have a podcast on here. I've got downloads with a few different tools and advert analysis and other things. Also, you'll see contact up on the top of the page. So if you have any questions after this, feel free to reach out and contact me through there. You'll also see a Twitter icon up there or LinkedIn. If that's your bag, feel free to use those and reach out to me via those. Thank you all so much for attending and viewing my session today.